Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. So glad you guys could join us once again. For those tuning in on the simulcast on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and on X, we're glad you all can be with us. Going to bring in our friends over on Instagram so they can be a part of our chat for today. And last but certainly not least, going to connect with our friends over on Amazon Live so we can be able to talk to you all about the new book that's out this month that I think is not only powerful for us to be able to read and reflect on, but remind us of the importance of our own stories. And we're now live on Amazon Live with Cyrus Webb Presents. If you guys are new to us on the Amazon platform, welcome. Make sure you guys hit that follow button, either here in this corner or down below. You also will see the new book by our next guest. I'm so excited to welcome Monique Clesca to our broadcast today. Ms. Clesca is the author of the book you guys see there called Silence and Resistance. Now, you know her for her work in human rights, also as a journalist, but now she's taking us into her own life and her own experiences, what she's been able to learn and how it impacts her life today. Ms. Kleska, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. An honor for me to be with you today. Thank
Well,
you.
look, well, I appreciate that. The honor is definitely all mine. I want to say hello to you, Cool Pam Jam. Good to be able to see you. Dawson Shed, hello to you over there on IG. Hideaway Antiques, hello to you as well. So, Ms. Kleska, this is really interesting for me because I'm used to seeing you on television, talking about what's happening in places like Haiti and in injustice. But what is it like for you now to be on this side talking about your own story?
Well, it is very humbling. I must say that is the first because it's never easy to talk about yourself,
Mm-hmm.
at least not for me.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, I felt that the story was important enough that I could just get over my humility and put the story out. Because there's a story of a little girl growing up in a fascist state. So totalitarianism, hello,
Mm-hmm.
and that is one aspect. And the second aspect is the family surroundings.
Yeah.
Although there is love, although the country also is very beautiful, but there is, longing, there is loss, there is separation, there is migration, and there is silence, the
Yeah.
overwhelming silence of everyone. People just don't say. My mother doesn't say things. My father always has a smile as a response. Whatever question you ask,
Mm-hmm.
nobody has an answer to it. And it's extremely frustrating for the little girl who I was. So right now, I'm just saying to myself, let me put my humility on the side and let me talk about this because there's a universal story, and a lot of little girls, and I'm sure little boys, are going through feeling just stepped over by the silence that surrounds them in the home, and also by domestic violence that I suffered.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing. Your story, Ms. Kleska, is so layered in that. And I mentioned to you before we went live here, the word silence shows up in ways that I would not expect. I think a lot of times, as you talked about, when it comes to, a people in general, how some people feel oppressed. But silence, as you mentioned, does show up in your book in the home, but also just in being able to be seen in the community. Talk to us about that word for you. What would it have been like for you to see the different layers of silence, but how deadly all those layers can be?
They are deadly if you don't choose the silence.
Hmm.
Because silence, one can sit and say, well, I'm doing yoga and I'm being silent, So that's a different kind of silence. But the silence that I'm talking about is in the home where you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And you ask, and everyone is silent. So that is one aspect. There is also the silence of the other people. For example, the maid that we had, and we were by no means rich people,
Hmm.
but we had a maid, but you're silent around her because the political climate was such that one could think that maybe she was a spy and
Yeah.
she would tell on you. So you are silent around her. So that is one thing. There is also the overwhelming silence in the country because voices are people. I had neighbors who disappeared. I had my girlfriends who one day we just stopped going to their homes. So they were silent in the way that they just kind of disappeared from the house that they lived in. And it took years to find out why. And so they were silenced. And
Mhm.
the neighbor who disappeared, he was silenced because we never heard from him again. We never saw him again. We never knew what happened. I recently, about 2 weeks ago, contacted his daughter, who was telling me how courageous I was to talk about that. And she said, I'm going to order 4 books so that all
Mhm.
my children know what happened. And I got the impression that all these years she was silent about what had happened to her father with her children. So there are all these different layers of silence and of being silenced. And I think it's important to actually break that silence. And I think that's what I decided to do. And also, there was another kind of silence that I talk about also. When I was being beaten up, nobody said anything.
Yeah.
Everybody in the neighborhood watched. I was beaten up in school,
Mhm.
and nobody, not one teacher said, Stop, you should not do this.
Mhm.
And so there is this silence is complicity.
Yeah.
This silence is, it multiplies the violence by I don't know how much, but it shows you that you are so vulnerable and that you're just out there by yourself, this little girl that nobody says, let us protect her.
Yeah.
And so these are the different kinds of layers of
Mhm.
silence, of being silenced, of silencing others. And I think it just, I didn't realize until I wrote about it how much it traumatized me and how much it impacted my life. And in a way, made me into the woman I am today who says, no, I will not be silenced.
Yeah.
No, and encourage others also not to be silenced and to speak up so that you are no longer a victim. So these are the layers of silencing it. And it is profound that you saw all those different layers. And thank you for having gone into the book in that manner.
Well, I appreciate that. It's it's one of those things. It definitely comes to the forefront in so many ways, and it makes us understand you better now, Miss Clesca. Well, at least for myself. Let me speak for myself, because I would look at you. Like I said, I remember seeing you with Christian Anapor and on all these programs, and I thought, wow, she has such boldness, and she's. But I understand better now, and knowing your story, where that comes from, and your need to make sure other people don't feel silenced, but also not seen as well. I want to mention something else because it goes to a larger part of your platform, Ms. Kleska, and that is what you write in the chapter. Let's twist again. You have these words here. It's these 8 words, and it says so much about who you are today and the work you do. Those words are, "But I'm never tired of searching for answers." Where does that curiosity come from? Where that curiosity to not only to know, but also to be able to share.
Well, when you're not told things and you ask once and you are shunned away,
Mhm.
or you are, well, I say shunned away because that's how I felt.
Right.
When nobody responds to you, then you want to, it kind of sharpens your need to know.
Mhm.
It kind of tells you, well, wait a minute, I want to know,
Right.
and it makes you even more curious about, are they hiding something? What's behind all of this?
Right.
What's happening? And, I would ask my older sister the question, and she would say, well, I don't know. And sometimes she would say, well, you're always asking me things I don't know. So I wasn't the only one who did not know,
Right.
but I was perhaps the more curious ones. And it's not to say that I didn't ask questions, it's to say that no one was answering.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I talk about from the beginning of the book is my mother had invented a word to say, to respond to us. And the word was Besky, Besky. And whenever she did not want to answer anything, she would say Besky. So imagine the wit and the humor maybe that she had to think, you know what? Let me just invent a word this way. I can just say Bisky. And we knew it. I was terrified of it. And
Right.
then my father, it was a smile. He just smiled.
Mhm.
Mm. It was and it was synonymous with, I'm not going to respond,
Yeah.
which was synonymous with silence. So it
Mhm.
sharpens, to me anyway, it sharpened my need to know. And to this day, I am just curious, and even more so when I feel someone is hiding something from me. Because sometimes it may not be actually something really bad. It's
Mhm.
just, well, I don't want to share it.
Right.
And today, as an adult, one can say, I don't want to share it. And I think children today are brought up differently, and parents tell them, I'm sorry, I can't talk to you about this now. I'm sorry, it's not the right time to say this. But
Mhm.
at the time, no, it's just like, would you just shut up and go sit somewhere? So I think this is where my curiosity was, and
Yeah.
also my need to speak up for the people who are unjustly silenced and unjustly violated.
Mhm. And it's something that definitely comes through. I want to say for those who are just tuning in, hello to you, Skydog, over on YouTube. Skydog says y'all are doing good. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. I want to give a shout out to Amanda Jean Garcia over there on IG, and all of you tuning in on Amazon. You all are watching Cyrus Webb Presents on Amazon Live, but we're simulcasting at Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and on Instagram. My guest today is Monique Clesca. We're talking with her not only about her book you all see there on Amazon, Silence and Resistance, but what's been like for her to share her own story, her own reflections, and really get us a glimpse into what makes her the person she is today, as she was just mentioning, and why the work she does today is so important. You mentioned your parents, and we don't have to get too far into this, Ms. Kleska, but one of the things I think will be a big revelation for people is what you were able to discover about secrets even in your home. I'll put it that way. And when those revelations came out, and it was really interesting for me. I did not expect that when I got to that part of the book, because you also talk about grief, something else that is very universal. But talk to us about that. What was it like for you to pull back the curtain yourself and say, not only to deal with your own grief and loss, but also the truth and revelations that came out about your own family?
It was devastating. It was totally devastating
Mm-hmm.
to find out the family secret
Mm-hmm.
that I revealed
Mm-hmm.
after over 50 years,
Mm-hmm.
70 years practically. But it was traumatic. I didn't expect it. I didn't, and it was, and that's why I said that my father has been dead for over 30 years, and he's still breaking my heart.
Yeah.
And it was, and I think that makes the story universal,
Mm-hmm.
because there are so many people out there who find out family secrets and are so totally deceived by the people that they love.
Right.
And it took me, it really, Cyrus Webb, it took me close to 2 years to
Mm.
actually make peace with the secret that I found out,
Right.
and so that I could heal.
Yeah.
Because bottom line, my father had been dead. But
Right.
regardless, I was just all the foundation of his love was shaken.
Right.
And it was important for me to, in my transformative journey, to move on. But it took a long time to move on, and even writing about it. I remember I went to one workshop in Iowa, and it was workshop with about 12 others, and everybody said, "Oh, no, you, this piece is not ready. You can't do it." I went to another workshop in San Francisco, and everybody was saying, "No, no, 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 you can't write this. This is not ready."
Mm.
And there was so much anger in it.
Hmm.
There was so much sadness in it.
Yeah.
There was so much desperation in it that it didn't make sense. And all of it is because I was not yet ready to
Yeah.
deal with it. So this secret devastated me, but it also helped me after few years to come to terms, to heal. And I think that is one of the lessons that from the book, and I hope that people will get that.
Yeah.
One needs to heal,
Hmm.
and I healed.
Right.
And it was very difficult. It took a long time. It took a lot of effort for me to heal, but that's what happened.
Yeah.
And I encourage people to search, but to realize that it is it is a huge burden, and I guess when something has been hidden for over 50 years,
Right.
it becomes even more important than if it has been hidden for maybe 30 days or something like this.
Hmm.
So it takes on the weight of all these years, and you're trying to figure out what was going on, through why,
Yeah.
and nobody's there to respond to you because they're all dead,
Yeah.
and they wanted their secret to go with them to the grave.
Mm.
And so you unearth it, and now you're the one who has to go through the burden of figuring out why, what happened, and why they did this, and who was hurt, and then deal with your own.
Mm.
And I unburdened myself, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
And it was a transformative journey. It
Mm.
was a transformative journey, and I found some grace at the end because I was able to make peace with it.
Yeah. And that piece is so important, Ms. Kleska. I want to broaden out the conversation and bring a little bit of levity to it, if you don't mind. When I was prepping for your segment, I saw the video you posted on Instagram on September the 11th of you holding the book and showcasing the book. I want to talk about the pride of that. What was it like for you to have worked so hard on this, as you were just talking about, pouring so much of yourself into it and seeing the finished result in your hand?
Oh, it's that moment was a sheer bliss,
Mm.
sheer bliss, because the book is born out of pain.
Yeah.
It's born out of the earthquake that killed close to 250,000 people
Mm.
and shattered Haiti, shattered my city,
Yeah.
shattered my church, shattered my school, shattered things, and shattered my life
Right.
because I had post traumatic stress syndrome. So the book really came out of that. And I did not want to write the book. I did not have, it wasn't like, oh, let me write my memoir. No, it wasn't that. It
Yeah.
was searching for how do I find some level of peace with all that has been destroyed, all
Mhm.
that has been hurt, and all of the pain that I felt. And I started writing. It was a psychologist who offered free services for
Mhm.
victims of the earthquake. And I went to her and she said, "What is it that you like to do?" And I said, "I love to write." And she said, "Well, start writing." And
Mhm.
I started writing. So it came to all of that. And there is also a lot of, in addition to that pain, there was, as I just mentioned, the pain of discovering things, the pain
Mhm.
of reliving things. But there was also a lot of joy in reliving some of the moments when I discovered in nature, for example, going through the mountains of Haiti in Kescoff, or visiting the town of Jacmel when I discovered the beach. And there was all of that, and there was family love, and
Yeah.
then there was the voodoo. My grandmother, my grandson, my grandnephew told me 2 days ago he said it was so wonderful reading about the coffee ceremony, how
Mhm.
I learned how to make coffee. Everyone who came, you grill coffee. You don't just let me give you, pop a little something, in a machine. No, you actually go grill the coffee beans. You
Mhm.
ground the coffee beans. And he was saying, often I read books, but this one is I'm reading about my family. I'm reading about a family. So that was, that it just means the world to me. And I am just so happy. It took a lot of years. A lot of people helped me. And I went through a lot of pain doing it. And it was burdensome for years. And it was just kind of, you lift it up and you put it down. And when
Mhm.
you put it down, it's this beautiful book that I have in the back of me and you have in the front of you.
Yeah.
And and it really was sheer bliss. I'm happy.
Well, I'm happy to be able to get to know you, to get a fuller picture of what drives you, Miss Clesca. And I think anyone who picks up this book who has seen your work, I think we'll definitely see where that passion comes from, where your search for justice comes from. All of that becomes clearer, I think, when people read the book. Again, everyone, Miss Monique Clesca has been our guest. The book is called Silence and Resistance. You all can get it here on Amazon. The subtitle of the book is Memoir of a Girlhood in Haiti, but it is definitely a book that is universal and I think has so many lessons for all of us. Ms. Clesca, thank you so much for stopping by the program. It really means a lot. I know your website is moniqueclesca.com. They can go there for more information about you as well. But I look forward to having you back on the program again.
Thank you so very much for having me. It's a true honor.
Look, it's totally my pleasure. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Cyrus Webb Presents. Until next time, you all make it a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.